and
Mm-hmm.
have little support systems in different parts of the world. You
Mm-hmm.
guys have an incredible infrastructure to do with working with kids and really developing people from an early age to be able to partner dance
Mm-hmm.
and to perform and to choreograph. You guys put out incredible dancers. You've got a high degree of sophistication to how you approach competition, how you approach training, um, and just overall a fantastic reputation.
Thank you.
Gabby, tell us about yourself. Where, first of all, where are you from? Where did this all start for you?
My life, you mean? Or the dance?
Sure. Let's take it from the very beginning. So where did Gabby start?
Well, I was born in Mexico City, but like that was more like like an accident because I was born 2 months in advance. But I went back when I was so I grew up in Tijuana. Um, there's this is where I went to school. This is where I went to dance school. Like I started dancing at 4, and then during the summers, like when I was 8 to when I was like 12, my parents would send me out to boarding school in Mexico City to do singing, dancing, and acting. So because that was just what I like to do, right? So like a kid, whatever. And then I came back, stayed here. Then that's pretty much it. Like that. Then later on, like when I went to college, some years of college I did in the U.S. Like the first time I did, I went to Las Vegas. So I stayed there for the first time. I moved to another country to live. I lived in Vegas for 1 year. And then for my master's, I went to LA for my master's, and then I went to UCLA, and that's where I started like doing this like more on a professional level. I mean, at least that's where I started like knowing about salsa dancing. So that's how I became first a recording artist. Being in LA, first became a recording artist, and then after that, like, or at the same time, I learned about salsa dancing, fell in love with it, and just started doing this more like on a professional level because I was already like a traveling artist. So yeah,
So I actually had no idea you were recording in LA.
I was a recording artist. I had a recording contract. I went on tour with Britney Spears, with NSYNC. I was on the Nickelodeon tour, Disney Channel, all those fun stuff.
And that was for singing?
Yeah, but I was in a girl band. You know, like when the Spice Girls were out, I was in a band that was called International Five. And a lot of people like we toured in the US only, but we toured like profusely, like a lot, because we did as I said, we first started with I don't know if you remember a group called LFO. So we started with LFO, then we moved like in a month or so we moved to Britney Spears, then we went to NSYNC, and then we went back to Britney Spears, and then in the middle we were just going here and there like different little radio tours and stuff. But yeah, we recorded an album. We had a contract for 2 albums, and I just couldn't do the rest of it. It was just a little bit too much for me at
Can you
the
sing?
end.
Can you sing one of your
No,
pop
I
songs?
suck. Like especially now, like my voice is just so low. After I started teaching, my voice just became like low. I mean, I could sing, but like not one of my songs. I don't know.
Well, I had
Maybe.
no idea I had that you actually I think you had mentioned it once, but I never put those pieces together because I just
Yeah.
know you, of course, as like Gabby the dancer. I want to
Hmm.
I want to bring things back to Tijuana real quick. So when
Yeah.
your mom got you into dance, she was obviously really supportive of that. Um,
Hmm.
what uh, what does your mom think of your career right now? Is she happy with
Yeah. I mean, you can think about like, my in my family, nobody is an artist at all, like for nothing. Nobody knows how to do anything. Everyone is like very highly intellectual. It's all about just doctors, lawyers, engineers, and that's it, right? Um, and and I became an engineer. So, and like and I went like hardcore. Like I went and studied like robotics, you know, like just not just like playing around. I was just doing the real thing. And but then this whole, I've always been a dancer, I've always been a performer. So then this thing caught up to me when I was in LA, and I just like, you know, that it was hard for me to like choose between the two, but it got to a point where like when I had to go to the first tour, they're like, listen, you can't be doing both things. You gotta, we're gonna, we're gonna go on a plane and you're not coming back in 6 months. And I'm like, oh, I don't think, and there was no online thing back then, you know? So, and my mom was super supportive. Like, you know, I asked her, what do you think? What do you think my family's gonna think? You know, they're gonna be like, what do you mean you're gonna be a singer, a dancer? That's ridiculous. And my mom was like, no, I mean, you gotta do what makes you happy, you know, because like science or whatever, or work or whatever is gonna be there waiting for you whenever you're ready. But the thing is that you need to be happy now with whatever is given to you at this moment. And what was given to me was the opportunity to become what I've always, what my heart was always desiring, you know? I was always a dancer. I was always a performer, even though I was like in science, I was still like, you know, having that thing. It's just that I didn't, where I lived, there was no, and you know, back in the day, like nobody did this as a career. It's not like, what do you do? Oh, I'm a dancer. What does that even mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah,
Well,
super supportive.
I think that's such a gift when parents give that to kids, and it isn't just something that they need to say the whole time. I think it's these special moments in life where your
Yeah.
parent says it just at the right time, where you can take that in. Because
Hmm.
I know tons of people whose parents were supportive of them doing whatever, but they weren't able to actually focus their energy. But if it's just at the right moment where someone says to you, know, like, look, you can the career's all good, and but they kind of give you that bigger perspective that you really have to do something that you love.
Yes.
And here we are now, we're both doing things that we love out of
Yeah.
work, right?
Yes. The work. Yeah. Great. Yeah.
But it's not just us. Lots of people are out of work.
Yeah.
um I love that trajectory of your career, Gabby.
Thank
tell
you.
tell tell me about how the engineering degree has affected your dancing and your choreography. I feel like it must have in some way.
I mean, like, I think it's pretty simple to see, like when you've seen me teach, you've seen me, like I came up with this system of like teaching, like everything that I teach is so structured, and I like slice it down into like the most minimum expression. uh, I observe like movement, or I even observe people who can do something, and then like I break it down, and then I'm able to like figure it out so that I can explain to another person in the most um, smallest like equation, right? Because that's what you would do with a robot. Like in order for you to make a robot do something, you gotta go to the very minimum minimal expression of what the movement or the whatever decision when you wanted to make. So then that was like a thing that just came natural to me. And also, well, in my business, definitely you see how like how I run my company, like in a very unemotional, more like structured way, like in a way that is more like I find it to be very productive, because we don't go by like, we don't have like hierarchies. We're like all the same, and everyone has their own responsibility. Uh, and that like was taught to me in engineering. Obviously, like it's just because everything is part of the whole system. You can't be missing one part, you know, and one part is not everything, and everything is not one part. So it's that. And right now, I mean, seriously, like when they told me, you know, first I got called by all the promoters going like seriously, in 1 week I got like everything canceled. It was like March, April, June, like that, in 1 week. And then my studios had to close. And then my franchises, like from Asia and then from Europe, and then started going down. I was like, I don't have a job now. And I remember it was one day that I was like, what's going to happen? And the next day I woke up and I was just like, you know what? I'm going to build a platform to do this. Uh, and, luckily, like in the past years, I've been learning some new codes because when I went to school, there was no people were coding in other languages. We didn't even have apps or anything, right? So now I was like, you know what? I don't know how to do this, but I know how to do the algorithms. So I'm just gonna learn the syntaxes and I'm just gonna put this together. So then I told my kids and they're like, I don't know what you're doing, but I trust you, let's do it. And if they hadn't been for that, for engineering, we would all of us, we would be like done, and they keep saying it, like every time they get interviewed or like we had a recital, each one of them were going like, if it wasn't for Gabby, like we would be just like, I don't know where, because like, like all this ideas that came up and then the how to do it and the whole thing. Because if I had to hire somebody, it would have been like $10,000, like easy, and I don't have $10,000 to be giving away. So I was like, I'm just gonna sit in my computer and I'm just gonna make this thing, and I made it. So yeah.
I feel like we're all kind of trying to figure out what the next move is. I feel like whatever work we put in right now is going to pay off, even just in the development of our understanding of how the businesses run. Even if we were to lose the businesses completely, right? Even if,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like everything gets shut down again. We're growing so much so fast
Yeah.
in this little period of time. Um, I always remember Alma Latina as being, you guys were always kind of like this. It was a little mysterious because when I first started seeing Alma Latina, say at congresses, right? That was before there were the franchises,
Mm-hmm.
or Atacan Alemana or Salsa
Mm-hmm.
Manera, like before everyone had a training course and a school and
Mm-hmm.
um, and you would just hear Alma Latina. And the thing I always remember about you guys, it was such a family enterprise in a way. Like
Yeah.
it would always be kids perform. You'd have these kids like this, tiny little kids just dancing like so well. Um,
Yeah. And they're
tell,
still here,
tell
like
me
15
about
years
that.
later.
I wanted to talk about that because it's one of the fascinating things about the company you built. You really, really created an enterprise or a structure that families could feel safe about bringing their kids to and having
Mm-hmm.
them train. If someone wants their kid to get into salsa dancing, or bachata, how does that work when they start out with Alma Latina? What's the age group that they start with, and how do you start training them?
I mean, for us is the kids, but it's also like just whoever, like our mission is to make sure that we impact people's lives. And I'm very careful about that, like about having people like be impacted about like with like in with the message of you can progress, you can thrive without having to do wrong things. You can thrive even with like the most integrity you can have. You're going to thrive. Like you don't need lack of integrity. You don't need to steal. You don't need to be jealous. You don't need to be envious. You don't need to be like none of that. You don't need to be fearful. You can be just who you are, and we embrace you. Um, and and then we help people like just become better than who they are in the moment. Like just realize their potential as a human and also as a part of a team and as a part of like a family. Like or community. um, so that's very important to us, and I feel like we've like really accomplished that, like starting with us and then trickling down to like everyone who's been a part of us, right? And then with the kids it's just like just like any other school, people come in and everything. The one thing that I think that perhaps we've seen, at least where we are, that is different from us and the others, is that we put them in competition right away, like very fast. And we start like instilling in the kids this work ethic that, if you want to come here for twice a week, it's fine. but if you can come 10 times a week, 10 hours a week. And we don't necessarily charge them more. Maybe we should, but we don't. Like when we first started, all these kids that you see right now, the pro team, everybody, they used to be like just little kids, and they would drop them off after school, like at 2 p.m., pick them up at 9 every single day. That's what, like, I had like a kindergarten there in my studio. It was just like they lived there. So, and a lot of kids right now are just like, lost. And then with this, they feel like they have a community. We don't cater to like low income because we're not in a place that is low income, but people, like, regardless of income, kids are having like a lot of issues right now. Like, if when you and I went to school we had issues, trust me, right now it's like you can be the most perfect kid, the most prettiest, with the both parents, with like everything, and you're still inadequate. So it's hard, and then they feel like when they're in my studio, they feel all this love, this accountability too, because we're not like, oh yeah, whatever. No, it's like in my studio, you don't come with your uniform, you don't come in. You don't, as soon as you get in, your parents cannot come in. If the parents don't trust us, fine. I'm not gonna let any parents come in my studio. Um, that didn't work out when I tried to do that in San Diego. It just didn't work out. But I just chose not to do it anymore over there. You see what I mean? So we have like a lot of discipline, but these kids grow up with so much respect for themselves, for others, for teamwork, for their elders. You know what I mean? It's just like, and so much pride, because then they start like traveling and working hard for competitions, and then they go and win. They're like, it changes them. It really does change them. They start getting very like obsessed, like in a good way.
I can imagine how it would, because you have all these, as a kid, when you see something, you just sort of take it at face value, right? I remember seeing dancing as a kid, and I instantly knew I wanted to do it. It looked
Uh-huh.
amazing. But I didn't start dancing till I was in my, like, I don't know, mid 20s.
Hmm.
But as a kid, you see it, you're like, it's like seeing a sports car or something like that. And it's just unattainable, but it's amazing. And
Hmm.
if you give someone, I can speak for myself. So if I was given that at like 10 to start learning and be like, holy shit, I'm getting better, and then go and win a competition with a bunch of kids, it'd be a really cool
It's another
team,
thing.
life-changing experience. And I feel like right now, the looking at the sum total of what we've accomplished with dancing
Hmm.
is really important, because obviously, like you said, our jobs are, they're not super stable right now. Not that anyone's
Hmm.
is, but ours aren't. But the sum total of what you've done over that period of time, with the amount of lives that you've really changed for the
Hmm.
better, and having given people that confidence, um, it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
Done wonderful things, Gabby. I was so impressed when you were at our studio. It was like a year ago, right?
Hmm.
A little more, and you were here, and you were going to help us out with a choreography. And I was amazed at how quickly and precisely you came up with the choreography. You hadn't heard the song before. We gave you the
Hmm.
song, and you were like, okay, it's going to take me this many hours to do it. Now, the average person, the average dancer, certainly coming up with a choreography is hard, especially if you haven't done it, because you don't know what moves to pick. You don't
Hmm.
know what's right and what's wrong, if people are going to like it, if they're not. And
Hmm.
and I just love that process of seeing you listen to the song and then just start to, like a mad scientist, you just sort of started to write stuff down, and you had it all blocked out within like half an hour, and then you just mapped it out. Um, Obviously, you've done it a lot, right? You've
Hmm.
choreographed for a lot of people, for these kids teams. What And again, back to that engineering thing, right? What do you do when you take a song and you know you have to come up with a choreography for it? Talk me through just the the basic nuts and bolts of how that how that
I
works.
love this question. I love this question. I'm gonna like just get my notebook right here. It's right here.
It looks so nice where you're at, Gabby. I know you
I'm
showed.
sorry?
It looks so nice where you're at right now.
Oh, look. Look at this. That's the ocean. Is my balcony, and this
So
is my office. So yes. So watch. Yeah, everybody has a different way of choreographing, but us, we like, came up with like this, like ways of doing it in a way that is both uh, productive, like depending on like what is it that you are trying to accomplish. Are you trying to win a competition? Then you're gonna reverse engineer it. Like if you want to hit all the boxes, then you need to reverse engineer your choreography towards that, right? But in terms of choreographies that are not for competition, which are the ones that I love the most. I have this different ways of doing things, but like for instance, one, I don't know if you can see here,
mhm.
like what I'm doing here is this is just to hit the timing correctly. So I break down the full choreo. I break it down in not in phrases, but in like times. So then like I go from the 1 to the 5, and then the 1, no matter where that song has the 5, I just write it over there. And that way, when you choreograph, then you can hit always the times are like you can go back and check, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm doing it. But you can still do it musically, but then you're gonna be very careful about like where it's over here if it says that it's a 1 or a 5 or a 3 or what is it, right? And it
So you're
sounds
hang on.
simple, but it's very accurate. It's a very accurate, easy way to do things. This is just for timing.
Can you explain that a little more, Gabby? So I
Mhm.
understand. So you're listening to your song, and so how are you mapping it out on paper? How does that?
For instance, this one, I'm gonna sing. This one goes, echarme la culpa, oh, uh, sé que tiendo a ser impulsivo y tú dramática, pero si la sentencia era perpetua, ¿por qué pedí? Look, it says, para que entregue mis disculpas. But
Okay, so
very
you're
fast
so
is where the 1 is. So I don't leave it over here. I put, para que entregue mis disculpas.
okay.
So it goes like, and I slice it. And then over here, I'm going to go over the steps that I'm going to put there. If it's a syncopation, if it's a long elongation, if there's a horn, if there's something, whatever, I'm gonna write it like on the next line. Um, so this is the method that I it's obviously like engineering, right? And then also it has a little bit of like what I learned in singing, because in singing you gotta choreograph your breathing, right? So then you do the small ones and the large ones and whatever. So then with all that, like I came up with that. And the ones that are for not for competition, what I love doing is a story. So I picked a song, I break it down, and then I started making up a story that like how with the characters and everything. So like how the story develops from beginning to end, like imagining everything, like a scenario, like how did these people met, like these people meet, what was behind the song, what was before that, and how does it end, like because a story is not just like you're not only in love, you're not only mad, you're not only happy, you're always like like this, right? The dynamics have to be like a real story. So in every verse or something I started making that, oh, and then at this point they get like mad, and then that's the reason, that's the moment when she finds out that he's and it doesn't have to be 100% related to the lyrics. It has to have but I go like I kind of like read between the lines, you know. Maybe the person who's singing is talking about something, um, but maybe he really means something else. Like I try to analyze like what's really behind the psyche, you know, of the lyrics, right? Or sometimes we just like make it up, you know. But we go through the whole story, and I put it there, and then I also like put what kind of moves do I want to be able to express that. For instance, like if you're sad, it's not just sad, it's like sad, but then when you're like when you come up, what is it like, how are the moves, and it has to match with the music as well. So all that stuff I just make the notes. So I do break it down in like sections, and then that's how you can be able to when you're dancing, you don't look like this. You're like, people can see your performance because they can actually feel it, because you're actually being real, because you're actually connecting to the story. When you're just like there and just like this, you know, or like just having like the same expression, then that's not connected to your limbic system, you know. Huh? So
So
see.
I love this. This is actually what you're saying there is one of the coolest things that I've heard on this live stream series, because
Thank you.
choreographing is so mysterious, it's so difficult to do, and often it's looked at as sort of like you either have it or you don't, or
Mm-hmm.
how do they, but then when I look back at your performances and the team performances, everything is so precise, not just in terms of the obviously like the choreography or the timing, but it's precise in terms of when those emotions are coming out, and it seems easy. That's what I always felt about your choreographies, is that
Mm-hmm.
they the art behind it looks and feels effortless,
Mm-hmm.
even though you can, it's even if it's at a very high degree of difficulty. So
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying about mapping it out totally makes sense. So you're taking your song. I want to recap here.
Mm-hmm.
The whole show is really just for me to learn shit for free. So let me get this straight. So you take a
Mm-hmm.
song, you're writing out the lyrics. First, underneath the lyrics, you're putting down like, okay, this is a downbeat, this is a five, this is a one, and
Mm-hmm.
then you're writing notes like a
Mm-hmm.
map, like a diagram. It's incredible of okay, in this spot there's an elongated note. So you're looking at like almost the technicals of it first, and then you're going over the philosophical kind of like fundamental parts of it. After that, where you're writing down, this is a, like you were saying, the storyline.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's true, it doesn't, because it's subjective, right? The story
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be exactly what the lyrics are.
Uh-huh.
If you add in some little emotion there and then you give that to a team of dancers, it's such
Mm-hmm.
a helpful thing, because it's true, the face is, it's so hard, Gabby, when you're
Mm-hmm.
performing, and your coach is like, smile more, or like your faces don't, you're like, but what do I do? Like, do I just fake a smile? Whereas when you're given that map of kind of emotionally how you should be
Mm-hmm.
feeling, I love it. So you come up with that. Now
Mm-hmm.
you said that if it's a competition piece, it's a little bit different. How so?
The competition, you gotta go, as I said, reverse engineering. So you have to first look at the rules. Once you look at the rules, then you see, then you decide how you're gonna connect and how you're gonna score high on each one of them, right? So you want to go as you want to push the trick limit to the limit. But you have to know that the technique is going to be judged by everything that you do that is technical. So, for instance, if your technique is not that good, then you want to hide that, because if you do three splits or three like technical things, but you don't do them right, then you're gonna get like really bad points. So then that's how you choreograph. You're like, no, if you have a group where people have like not really like good technique, what you're gonna do is just you can only use one of those tricks. So then you have to like really be careful about the timing. If they talk about musicality, then that gets really tricky, because because sometimes musicality goes against timing. So, well, you're a musician, like musicians love to do things off beat, love to like change up the beat actually. Like in bachata, they do that a lot. In salsa, I don't even want to, talk about that. And then sometimes in bachata, it's not even like clear, because they just like do this phrases and whatever, right? Or if the voice is hitting something really nice, so then that's why you gotta be super, super careful. That's when you do this thing. Like that's exactly when you really need to be careful about this. I made a video. It's on my Instagram, and I was talking about like that, like I flow, right? I'm like, bum, and then when I do it, I look at what I'm in, and then I check, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm on the wrong foot. Okay, so then I'm gonna do the same thing, but I'm gonna make sure that I end up on this foot. See what I mean?
I do.
So things like that, you just gotta like you flow, but you just collect and just like start chopping things out. So because what you want to do is aim at scoring high on everything, because competition, it's a numbers thing. It's a numbers thing. You can't really miss anything and then think that one little box is gonna, if you score really high on that, I mean, there's no rollover. Okay, so you're like you're really good at one thing, that those are not gonna spill to the other boxes.
Okay.
So that's kind of like, does that make sense?
It does, yeah. How different is it, going back to the kids thing, how different is it training kids for what is the difference, I guess, that's how I'll ask it. What's the difference between training kids for a choreography
Mhm.
and training adults for a choreography? Regardless, I guess, of whether it's just performance or competition.
It's way harder teaching kids and training them because they're very distracted, very easily distracted. They get tired very easy. They don't have like, it's very rare that you'll find one kid that is like really like hungry, you know? Because kids are just there to have fun. So they'll do it, they'll do it for a long time. But when you have an adult and you tell the adult next week is a competition and we're going against so and so, that adult is not going to sleep. That adult is going to like quit everything. It's going to be like just quit everything, like nothing, nothing matters. Only that competition. A kid, there's nothing you can tell a kid to make them like just go like, yeah, let's do it. It's not gonna happen. So like for instance, like right now in the competition team, I only have one girl like that. That is like she's just very driven. But it's 1 out of 15. The other ones are like, so you gotta be more disciplinary with the other kids. And then also there's the parents. The parents, I'm sorry, it's like it's another thing. It's complex. So you got to deal with them, and then the whole thing. And in competition, you know what that means. Let's say that you have people competing. This has happened to me many times. You want to go to the competition and you want to get first, second, third, and fourth place, right? So you bring 4 couples, you bring 5 couples. You want to like score in everything. You want to like be on the podium, everything, right? Okay. Uh, yeah, you might want that, but how do you think the parents who are not dance teachers and who think their kid is like, like Jesus Christ, how do you think they're gonna feel about their kid not winning first place, and then another kid from your same school winning first place? The weirdest thing happens. They just start getting like, and they all blame it on you in all sorts of ways. And you're like, are you serious about this? So that happened to me like a long time ago in the first World Cup. We did get first, second, third, everything, and everyone had like, I mean, I received letters from parents like this long, explaining to me how is it that it was my fault that their kid had not won. But the other kid that won was in my studio as well. And they like, the kids get along like they're brothers and sisters. They don't care. They don't care who wins. Very rarely you'll see a kid getting bitter about not winning. I mean, they'll be bitter for 1 hour and then later on they don't really care. It
Yeah.
really doesn't matter, but parents, so it is tougher. It is harder for
Remember
sure.
that show, Dance Moms? I'm
Man, it's
sure you've
crazy.
seen that show.
Yeah, I've seen that show. Actually, you know what? There was a time, I think it was like probably like 7 years ago or something, or five. Somebody reached out to me and they said, I hear that you're like the Abby Lee of salsa. And I was like, okay. And they're like, so they came all the way because they wanted to do a show with me and then the whole thing. But then they saw that I'm not rude that way, or like, I don't lose my temper. Like, I'm just,
See, I can relate because I mean someone contacted me a little while ago and they were like, "You're the Tiger King of salsa." And no,
mhm.
they never said that to me. I'm just making that up. But
What is Tiger King?
I love you, Gabby. You're awesome. I'm glad you. I think it's such a it speaks so well to your person to you as a person that you don't know what Tiger King is.
No, I don't know.
Tiger King is this bizarre show that just took the internet by storm right about when the virus hit. It was kind of
Oh,
around the same period of time, or maybe a little bit earlier. But it's maybe watch it tonight. Watch it tonight, and then I want you to just
am I
keep
gonna get
on
depressed?
as the Tiger King, right? Just
Okay,
just and then we'll see what you say. I'll call you tomorrow. We'll see what you say.
okay, perfect.
So, oh man, we stayed up till like 4 in the morning last night watching Ozark. Have you seen Ozark?
I don't watch TV.
You're fantastic. That's keep that up.
Yeah,
Keep
no, you know what I watched this weekend?
tell me.
The documentary on Michael Jordan, the Last Dance.
Okay.
That got me pumped. Like, I follow coaches. I follow, like, because to me it's so incredible that they'll get 15 guys with like the biggest egos and make them work together. That is like, so then I really like study that. Like, and yesterday I watched Coach Carter. That was a movie that I watched. But that's like, I don't really watch TV. Like, yeah,
You're
no
absolutely
time.
being a coach like that, it's an absolute superpower, isn't it? Because behind any of those athletes, there's someone who keeps them focused, keeps their ego to just the right level. I remember listening to a podcast about an Olympic gymnast coach
Mhm.
talking through kind of like the basics that were required to be an Olympic gymnast in terms of flexibility, strength, and they were mapping it out as to like this is where if you have a weakness in this area, you won't see it early on in the career, but then they'll get injured further down the line. And
Mhm.
people, it's so inspirational when you
Yeah,
that whole coaching deal. So that's what you do. You take
yeah.
large groups of people. What's it like being then coaching adults within a large group? Don't you have the same egos? And it's the dance world, so I'm
You
assuming.
know, you know what's like really, and I feel like I'm the person who can tell you about this. Like, I feel like, because I think I've seen it all. Because I'm like old school. I'm from like back in the day. I started dancing salsa in 1999. So like, I know I've seen everyone, and so you know what's hard? Hard is not motivating people. Hard is not coaching people. Hard is coaching people in an industry that lets people succeed without any training. So, because how do I tell you, oh, you know what, Vasily, let's go win a competition. You need to come here 3 times a week, 9 hours. And you're not gonna eat this crap that you're eating right now, and you're gonna do this and this and that. And you know what? Martin is the lead, and then you're like behind Martin, and then it goes Jonathan, and then you're after Jonathan. When just around the corner there's someone who has been dancing 3 months, and they are like super, like, and they're like, no, 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 come over here. You don't even have to pay tuition, and we're still, we're gonna go and do whatever thing. We're gonna go and dance. We're gonna win the merengue competition, and you're gonna be number one. So forget about Martin and Jonathan and all that. You know what I mean? it's so hard to teach people discipline, um, persistence, humbleness, teamwork. Uh, so hard.
I
So
think
the
you're right.
only thing,
I
the
would
only
put
thing that we
that
do is like we do it by example.
right.
But like a lot of people just like can't hang. They're like, no, no, no. They're too much. They're like, they go like, oh, they don't like me, and it's like, bitch, it's not like I don't like you. It's just like you don't work enough. So how are you like? How do you dare coming here trying to be in my spot when I come in an hour before you? And look at what I eat. Look at what you eat. Look, and I'm like twice your age, and I'm like working, and I'm like taking ballet lessons and taking this classes and taking that. And you come here, and then you want me to put you on the pro team and then make you the lead dancer? Like it just makes no sense. You know what I mean? But then to them, and it's not only one, it's a lot of people. To
Mm.
them, it's like that's crazy talk, you know? Because why would they need to do that if they can go anywhere else? And I mean, like the standard, especially in bachata, it's not high in terms of technique. It's not high in terms of talent. It's not high in terms of work ethic. It is not, you know. You can't compare it to ballroom. You can't compare it to any sport, you know. You can't even compare it to salsa. But and salsa is not. You can't really compare it to ballroom either. See what I mean? So it's hard to convince people that they need to give up a lot of things to become excellent, because
Mm.
it's hard to uh, it's hard for me, at least it's hard to make people understand or want to be excellent. They don't care about excellence, they care about fame. And fame, you can get it like by posting shit on Instagram, you know, unfortunately. So yeah.
Well, that's where as adults, that's kind of where your mind goes to what you can see immediately. It's almost like when you're training young professional adults just to dance salsa, right?
Mhm.
You still have to sort of give them a perspective of this is why you should go home and practice for half an hour a day with your partner,
Mhm.
practice this salsa basic. You have to sort of give them a reason why it's worth it, I guess.
Mhm.
So as a coach working with a team like Alma Latina, you've got to you've got to give people this work ethic and this drive that's not based on financial gain.
Mhm.
There's no certainty that they're going to get the accolades of their peers, that they're going to be Instagram or TikTok
Mhm.
stars or whatever. They might just go on, eat strict and train all day and practice their stuff, and then nothing might happen. It's almost a huge risk. I feel like though as a coach, that's what's so beautiful about getting large groups of people to dance is that if you do, whether it's for however you do it, right?
Mhm.
With a whip or whatever you're doing, you're motivating people. And it is worth it. You can, because you can look back at the years that you've seen.
Oh yeah.
I don't, um, I don't think that people look back and they're like, ah, crap, I wasted all that time practicing that basic. It isn't a waste of time, whether it's
Yeah, no, 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 no.
social
No,
dancing.
you're always gonna remember, and it's gonna be like a lot, and you're gonna like taste that way much harder, like way better if it was hard for you. You know, that's why like when you're compete and then you like you put in so much effort, and you like just it was very very hard for you to win, to even compete, then it tastes better, you
Mm.
know? And then that's the reason why, like a week before, you're like, what am I doing to myself? That I don't need this kind of pain. And then 5 minutes after you compete, you're like already thinking about the next year, how you're going to compete. Is because like success is sweet when it was hard, you know? But when it was easy, it doesn't, I mean, you can see it in everything, you know? You don't value what you don't pay for, you know?
Well, that's why right now I feel I feel there's so much emotion around reopening the studio and getting back to dancing. It isn't just because obviously I want my livelihood back.
Uh-huh.
I want my community back and stuff like that, but it really is tied into my desire to come through this period of adversity. and to
Uh-huh.
come out the other side and be able to look back and be like, ah, that was worth it, you know.
Yeah.
And it's always scary. And I know just listening to you talk right now, you know, it's inspiring and it's thought provoking because we're in a period of time like right now as a dance industry overall, as dance teachers, as social dancers, as performers, where you're kind of going, well, you know, is it worth it? I've worked, you know, I spent that much time investing in this, um, but I believe it is. I
Hmm.
really believe it is, and we're gonna come out the other side. Um, Tell me about some other stuff, Gabby. What are you and I have had many conversations about heels. Now, I don't want to get into a 2 hour debate about whether heels are important or not. I know that they're important in performing. I just, in brief, what are your favorite heels? If you were recommending a pair of heels for me, what are your favorite heels that you dance in? What are some things that you feel need to accompany wearing heels for professional
Hmm.
dancers in terms of strength and conditioning to make them capable of, of doing it?
My favorite has to be the Gfrancos, the Destiny, because they don't have rhinestones. So it's just more clean, I think. They just look more classy and they're very thin. So the front is very thin, but the back is very solid. So I like the back to be solid so it's not wobbly. It's very important that your ankles are very tight, you know? But the front has to be soft so you can point your toes. Uh, and yeah, like I think that and it's very funny because nobody knows that shoe. Everybody wears the one with stones. And I mean I'm good with that one because it's shorter too. Like I like the 4 inch. And that one Destiny has the 4 inch. But it's so pretty. It's so pretty and it's just very nice and it's comfortable. So that's my favorite. My favorite. It's called Destiny. And I never see anyone wearing it. It's weird. Like, yeah, but it's super pretty.
I'll keep that one on my to check out list.
Hmm.
Of course, you and I have talked so many times. I remember you coming and be like, "Don't show up without your heels," to all the follows. Uh, Now, you're not actually, are you competing, performing in 4 inch heels?
Sometimes, yeah,
That's
I've done it. Like I've done it. Depends. What happens is that in order to perform in 4 inch heels, you have to build to it. So it's been times where I don't have any other shoes but 4 inch heels. So then what do I? You know, that was the first time that I performed in 4 inch heels. It was a mistake. It was a mistake. I didn't realize that I was in my 4 inch heels. And then like when I came out, I was like, oh, I brought the other shoes, you know. So then because that was the only thing that I've been having there. So but if you stop wearing, for instance, right now I'm not wearing heels a lot. Like I'm only teaching like 2 hours a day or something, and I'm not really wearing heels. I'm only wearing for my teaching, right? But it's not something that I'm doing constantly like I used to, you know, when I was in the studio all the time, um, and especially rehearsing with the team. So like right now, in order for me to go back to the 4 inch heels, I'm gonna need 2 months.
mm.
You know, you need to like start going. So that's what I do with my dancers, because also with a 4 inch heel, like your legs look so much prettier. Your legs, your everything, your lines, your feet, everything looks just a lot more sophisticated. You know, you just look long. It looks more professional. So what I had all the pro team do is get the 4 inch heels, and then we all started like just rehearsing. But like seriously, it feels like you feel like a chicken, like you're walking like this for like a good 2 weeks.
Now, doesn't it, if all the follows are wearing 4 inch heels, doesn't it make all the guys look shorter?
Yeah, that's the thing, you know.
What about us? What do we do?
I get them to wear like the highest heels possible, highest.
You guys are wearing like that 2 inch or that inch and a half ballroom shoe? Okay.
Yeah, they have to wear
I
the
know,
highest.
man. I know, because then otherwise you're like trying to turn the person and they're like,
Oh
ah.
no, forget it. Yeah.
So, what about different, completely different topic? One of my favorite one of the things that I miss about congresses, of course, right now is the red carpet area. Not the red carpet area, but like, you know, the carpet area around the dance floor where all the pros end up hanging out, and you see these magical moments where two just superstars will start dancing, a little circle will form. I always think those are the real kind of performance moments of
Mhm.
congresses, because that's where you see these high level people trying stuff out, and they're
Mhm.
to challenge each other. What are some of your favorite, like we'll call it red carpet moments where you were dancing with someone else late at night at a congress? What are some of your favorite social dances in that environment?
Well, you know what? There's a lot to say about that. It's funny because your girlfriend was with me in one time when I was in Vegas, and she saw firsthand what we go through, like going through, walking through the to the dance floor, and everybody like pushing you, pulling you to dance, right? And then like they demanding, like, and I'm not talking about professional dancers, I'm talking about just, like dancers. And then they're pulling you and they demand that you dance with them, right? That day I remember there was three guys that wanted to dance with me, and the way they were dancing was like literally, it was just, they were hurting me. And each and one of them, I asked them, where do you dance? Like, well, who taught you, And they're like, oh, I taught myself.
They probably thought it was a compliment, Gabby.
Yeah. And I'm like,
Well, actually,
yeah, clearly. So then that made me realize, like, back in the day, as I said, I started from back in the day. I remember we used to go to the conga room in LA, and Francisco Vasquez would come in with two, three dancers, two or three girls, right? And we would not like all be like, hey, Francisco, dance with me. No, it was Francisco Vasquez would come in with his girls. They would dress up like differently than everyone else. And everybody would clear, and only the pros would dance with the pros. See what I mean? And you could see, I mean, they would do like tricks and stuff like that. And to me, that's how it was back then. And right before that is when I was a singer. When I was a singer, as soon as I sang, uh, there was a meet and greet, and the meet and greet was tops 1 hour. But nobody was expecting you to stay there and then go to their homes, or like just be like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Um, and over here, I feel like that's the more, it's always, 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 and people just don't put in the time to learn. They don't have like that kind of respect, and I miss that. I miss that because it's not cool. I mean, I don't like it, so I love it when I go to a place and what, like I love, because I love dancing and I love bachata, right? I love bachata and some salsa, they're like romantic salsa and whatever. I love it. You know what's like amazing? When you dance with somebody who's so smooth because they understand the music, because they understand the moves, they understand, they communicate. They're not just like yanking you, they're not just like performing, they're like living the moment. And that requires uh, experience, obviously, right? And I don't know, like more things. But that, I can remember, for instance, like there was a time where I went to in Brazil, and I danced with this guy who was like all, I don't know if you've seen him, he's burnt. His entire body is burnt and he's missing one hand. That guy was like so incredible. Like he could dance everything to start with, right? Like, I mean, everything they have in Brazil, right? But then when he danced bachata with me, I just could not believe the sensitivity of this guy to the music.
Hmm.
Like the way he was just communicating, like tiny little movements, I could feel the music while he was moving, that kind of thing requires skill. And that's the kind of thing that when you see the pros and just they're not doing much, but what they're doing is just so, because it has roots, it has roots. It's not just like this.
Hmm.
It's from the inside and out, and it's all this experience, and it's all this knowledge of the music, and all this feeling, and all this, um, like skill. So it's beautiful. I love that kind of thing. You know, I love to dance with a guy who knows how to lead me, who has like the power to lead,
Mhm.
and but to lead like for real, you know, and then just let me shine, and then but connected to the music and connected to me. You know, I love that. So, and
It,
it only happens to be pros that do that. But, you know,
it
I found
takes
some that are not pros that do that, but very few.
it takes is an enormous amount of experience that goes into something like that. And it is interesting because you talking about the Michael Jordan documentary. In the dance world, if you work for that many years, it's almost like Michael Jordan playing basketball with someone who just started and taught themselves like 2 months ago, took
Hmm.
classes. So when you're at a congress as a really high level dancer like yourself, you're dancing with people who are sometimes practically beginners. And I do remember that time. I
Hmm.
remember how professional you were about letting each of those dancers know when they were overstepping their bounds. It was
Yeah.
really impressive to see you do that, because it wasn't you weren't bitchy about it. You were really, really direct.
No, I'm not talking about when I went to your studio. I'm talking about to when I went to Vegas. Your girlfriend was there.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
took me, and she was like, she was in awe. She was like, "Oh my God, Gabby! Like what you go through is crazy." And I'm like, "Girl, like really, like this is nothing. Like this is just bad, you know." And then when you see people, like for instance, when I went to your studio, there was a lot of beginners, but they're so respectful, you know. And these are people that do take classes, and because of that, they don't try to like imagine you have like Michael Jordan going to some basketball court, and then some dude like throwing the ball at his face. That's kind of like how I see it, you know, and going like, "Hey, bitch, play with me." That's kind of how I feel when these people like grab me and they're like, dance with me. I'm like, okay, you know, it's a little bit like, okay.
How do you handle that, Gabby? When you're social dancing and someone like grabs your wrist or is too forceful, how do you handle it?
Well, Vasily, the thing is that if I say anything, if I act like anything, like the other day, somebody told me, like, they pointed out a video where La Alemana was like going like this to a guy. Now, I know La Alemana. She is like super light. She's like not a, you know, she's not a diva at all. So for her to do that, that guy must have done something really bad to her, right? Oh, but when they pointed it out to me, they're like, what a bitch. Like, I mean, how couldn't she just like be nice to the guy? And I'm like, oh my God, you know? And I've heard that about like Karel Flores, like she going to a social that is not even, she's not even hired for. She goes there to support one of her friends or whatever. And then somebody, after she's been dancing for like 13 times, and like spun like no without control, somebody's asking her to dance. She's like, wait a minute, and then forget it. Tomorrow, Facebook is like, you know. So I know that's the reason why I don't say anything, because I don't want to be, you know, talked about that way, because people
I
don't
don't know.
understand.
I don't think you should let it bother you at all, because I feel like it it's it's almost like the responsibility of people at your level
Hmm.
to show other people in the community, this is how you handle it, and this is
Hmm.
what you should pay attention to, and or this is what you should put up with, and this is what you shouldn't put up
Hmm.
with, because that's going to keep the integrity of a dance community alive
Hmm.
a lot more, because there's going to be, it's the dance world, so there's going to be a bunch of follows potentially who are going to have their wrists grabbed, and it's
Hmm.
important that they kind of have an idea from
Hmm.
role models like you as to how to handle it,
Hmm.
um, because for one thing, if you don't handle it well as a follow, the rest of your night is kind of ruined, and you project that onto the leads who are being really cool,
Hmm.
right? And like you're gonna
Yeah.
you're gonna basically be in a bad mood for the rest of the night. Whereas if you kind of handle it, and
Uh-huh.
you have a process of how you do it that's
Hmm.
professional, but you keep your boundaries, then
Hmm.
you feel that empowerment, and you take that attitude and that confidence into the rest of your night.
Hmm.
And I think you handled it really well. I think you should keep on handling it the way we've seen you do that, because and of course, Alemana is super sweet. I'm sure if she was pushing some dude away, that she had a reason. You
Yeah.
mentioned Francisco Vasquez, so I'm going to be interviewing him this coming week, I think.
Mhm.
Um, and and I'm excited about that because I'm excited about talking about that earlier salsa period of time where I mean it was the Alex de Silva period of time. It was the
Rogelio
who
Moreno,
maybe
Rudy,
Josie Neglia.
Janet,
Who was I thinking of the other day that I really want to interview that I haven't talked to her in years? She was
Joby Brava,
no, it was the who was the she was like the princess of salsa back then. What was her?
Edie,
What?
Edie, the salsa freak.
No, it wasn't. I great. I have to interview her. That's a,
She's super smart.
that's
That girl is super smart.
no, but who was I thinking? It wasn't. Was
The princess was Josie Neglia.
There was Josie Neglia.
Maybe Olivia Dasso, you think? But
There
she was a little bit later.
was it not. I wanted to say, man, what was her? Okay, I'll remember it. I,
Yeah.
but like that early period of salsa, kind of like going into the late 90s. LA salsa was so big. We were doing neck drops on the social floor. You could do
Yeah.
flips and
Churros.
yep, there was no one dancing on two looking all stuffy and worried about their tumbao and their clave. You were just like, "Rah!"
Yeah.
And everyone would just, all your students would applaud. That was such a crazy kind of Wild West period of time. And
Yeah.
I ended up like a lot of people dancing on two. I have all these
Mhm.
heroes, like Terry or any of the people I like dancing on two. I like
Yeah.
feel. But the amount of work that those early salsa dancers put in, especially in LA, because they were in the entertainment biz, that they put into their craft was huge. And I got to see that a couple years back at there was a San Francisco Salsa Congress, and they had a pro Jack and Jill. And I
Hmm.
remember some of those pro Jack and Jills are in later years, they kind of became almost a little bit of a not a
Joke.
joke, but like they were mostly just joking with each other. It
Yeah.
wasn't really competitive, right? They were just getting up and having a good time, and the MC would be making jokes. But I remember this one where people were serious. They just started. I don't know, the vibe got more and more heated, and there were all these world class dancers, and Francisco Vasquez got up, and it didn't matter if it was on one, on two, he smoked everybody, like absolutely put everybody to shame. He knew that song, he knew the Afro-Cuban hits in it, he knew, and so I'm excited about interviewing him.
Cool.
Um, and Yeah, no, I think that's going to be super cool. What about your favorite social dancers? Who are your favorite social dancers to?
Well, one of my favorite social dancers has to be Alex More.
Hmm.
That guy is so much fun. He's so much fun and he's so creative on the spot. So he's just like another level of, musicality and just like he's got so many moves that are like so easy to follow, both salsa and bachata.
That's
The
Alex
second
and Desiree,
one, uh,
Alex and Desiree.
yes,
Them, yeah, I interviewed them a couple weeks back. Wow, what
yeah,
good dancers, huh?
they're another level. She's like untouchable. She's insane. And then he is just like for social dancing, he's another level. Like he's got layer on top of layer. Like he's just incredible. And then Martin Gonzalez. Martin Gonzalez is like incredible. Like I don't know if have you ever met him?
I
Have you ever
have met.
danced with him?
Yeah.
He's just like insane. His movement and his lead is so good, and he's so musical. So yeah, that would be my second. First, Alex, and then Martin would be my second.
Tell me, is there a particular like Congress dance moment that you remember? A particularly good social dance with Alex or Martin at a Congress that springs to mind?
Well, like with Alex, there was this time that I was like blown away because it was in New York, 3 years ago, I think, and they were playing a lot of traditional bachata, and then that guy does not stop dancing, right? And there was a sensual bachata, and then he comes in, and I don't know if I asked him to dance or he asked me to dance, but he said something like, well, this is not my thing, like, so sensual bachata, and he killed it. He made me look like a freaking queen, like, for somebody to know what to do with you, like, for instance, he obviously thought, like, of things that I could do, and that, like, like, so he exploited those. He used that, like, all the roles. He went, like, super musical. He made me do things that, like, that he knows that I can do, but he's just like, people don't try to do those things on social dancing. He's just a pro. That guy is, like, skilled, and musical, and just, like, yeah, that was crazy. Like, sensual. It was a sensual bachata, and he killed it. It was incredible.
It really does come down to that, doesn't it, Gabby? The ability to analyze your partner's abilities and then make use of them and make them look good. And
Yeah.
I actually do remember watching you social dance at a congress, might have been a Vegas salsa congress
Hmm.
actually, where I saw you dance back to back with one person who was really flashy,
Hmm.
and we kind of felt bad for you because he just was sort of like throwing you around, and it didn't make you shine. It was
Yeah, yeah. I remember.
he was always behind the curve, just a little bit, right? Like where he was always trying to do a move that you could see he had in his head, but it didn't make you shine. And it's such a small difference, I guess, in terms of your lead brain and your lead
Mhm.
mentality, because as a lead, you have to um, you want to do things that are cool. You want to dance yourself, right?
Hmm.
That's one of the difficulties of leading is you kind of don't
Hmm.
dance as much. You have to really
Yeah.
focus on your partner. But when you do, and you're able to, like you say, exploit those superpowers, it's such a cool skill. I wish that people taught just that, like
Hmm.
optimizing your partner, whoever
Yes.
that partner might be. It could be, a little old lady just walked in off the street. How do you make her look good
Hmm.
versus it's you get what I mean.
But have you seen how, like, well, you've seen me dance, like, for instance, when you saw me in that, I remember that I danced different with different people, right? And then also when I went to your studio, and then you notice how, like, I also adapt to my partner a lot. So I'll be, like, small or large or whatever, depending on my partner, right? Is that a bunny? How many do you have?
Just one. That's where we're aiming to keep it.
Does
He's
he live inside your house?
he lives in the house with us. Is this distracting? I'm
No,
sorry.
I love it. I feel like I'm thinking if I could do the same thing.
Bunny rabbits are. When we got this little guy, I was not really that into it, right? I was like, we were at a farm. We were with our at the time she was 6, and we were looking at these little bunnies, and they were like, okay, let's get a bunny, and I just wasn't that impressed because I was like, it's not gonna have a personality. It's just gonna sit somewhere. But these little guys, they have tons of personality.
He's a pet.
Yeah,
He's a
yeah.
real pet. Yeah, because I've heard of other animals that are not pets. They don't even look at you. And this one is the loop ears, the long loop ears or something, right? It's called.
I don't know what they're called. I just kind of call them Einstein. He looks like a little old man. You have a walnut or an almond? There's one right there.
Too
I wanna.
cute.
We'll feed him as we say goodbye here. Yeah, he'll just lie here and go to sleep. He's incredibly tame, and they have great little personalities. Um, yeah. So I don't know if you can see. You want a almond? Here we go.
Oh, and it's his own Instagram.
Yeah, he'll just sit here and eat. Yeah, from Francisco Vasquez and neck drops to bunnies.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, B, it's been wonderful having you on the show.
Thank
It's
you
really
so
good to
much.
see you. I know you faced a ton um, a ton of adversity during this period of time where you have not just one school, you've got multiple schools and hundreds of people that rely on you,
Mhm.
and they've all devoted large portions of their life. One another almond, there we go. You got to be careful not to get bit. He'll bite. You know, these people have all devoted so much time to dancing, and you've kind of been their big sister, mommy, whatever, you know, through all that.
Mhm.
You got a lot on your plate, but I know you're going to pull through it. And I know you've got that really cool platform you were talking about to do with online training. Tell us a little bit about
Mhm.
where people can find you, where they can get access to your classes and your training,
Mhm.
both online and offline.
So my website is called Salsa Bachata University. Salsa Bachata University, and we have diploma courses, we have certifications, we have like we break down the content like a course, like Udemy style, like with like everything. And we have over 15 instructors, all world champions, and we're having people teach everything like from contemporary ballet, musicality, history of salsa, uh, salsa obviously, bachata obviously, like all kinds, you know. And then we have all the people from Alma Latina, and we also invited other people to teach. We just had a class with we just had a series with Kiri Chapman. She's doing Zouk. Then Tanya Wong was doing ballet for Latin dancers. Then we have other, you know, other bachateros like teaching, Mike Zuniga, Esteban Peña, like all of them like teaching their own classes also in my website. And it's really cool, you know, like because you get to keep all the videos, you get to stream everything live, and then the classes are live, and then they're interactive, and everything is within the same platform. So I really would like you guys to support us and just go to the website, check it out, register. I mean, you know, just register and just check it out and just like give me feedback or like, you know, whatever. And then like if you can get registered for one of the courses that we have there, that would be fantastic. We're starting a diploma course for fundamentals of bachata in June next week, and I teach that class. I teach it here in my studio in my house. So, and that one has like exams and everything. So, and a certification at the end, and it's gonna be nice. So,
It sounds fantastic, Gabby. There's a lot of certifications out there of teacher
mhm.
training, and I know, and some of them are great and some of them are okay. I'm sure that yours is really top notch because you've got so much experience, and I
Mhm.
love the idea of bringing on also other dancers, you know, to give people that opportunity on the same platform to
Yeah,
study those people. Kiri's wonderful.
yeah.
She's fantastic. Um, Gabby, thank you so much for coming on Con
Thank
Todo
you.
Talk. I wish you the best. Enjoy the incredible bioluminescence in Tijuana, Mexico this time of
Yes.
year. From what
Make
I hear,
sure, make sure
it's
you
special.
guys, whoever like is just joining us. Look how beautiful. There was like, there's been flamingos out there. There's been pelicans, um, seals. I mean, everything. Dolphins, of course. I mean, all kinds of things. Yeah.
We don't have any of those here in Seattle, but we have
You
bunny.
have a bunny. That's what I was gonna say. You have your bunnies.
Gabby, much love to you. I
Thank
really,
you.
I really wish you a fantastic couple months here as we come out of this virus period of time, and we look forward to seeing you in Seattle sometime soon,
Yes.
and we'll get a chance to dance again.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye bye.